Hey, what's up everybody? Retro Gaming Guy here. Today I am stoked to dive into this brand new plug-and-play retro game console that I came across. It offers up to 10,000 different games on here, and it came all the way from France. It's known as the Time Machine. So you can see the console right there. It looks like a very unique design. Looks really bright and flashy. Controller right here, and they even sent me an extra wireless controller so we could get 2 players going on here. So I'm stoked to see what this has to offer. They're advertising 10,000 games, 45 consoles, 30 different collections. So let's see what this is all about. We're going to unbox this. We're going to see what the design and layout is like. We're going to dive right into it, tour through everything that it has to offer, and then test out the performance to see how well the game is actually run in the end. Let's dive into it. All right, guys, so here is the console box right here. We're going to go ahead and open this up. So here's our console right over the top. Let's see what else is included with this, though. We've got a controller right here. We'll set that aside. Power supply cable, which looks like it is. Let me open this up, but looks like that's going to be a problem for us here in the US. Yeah, that's too bad. That is going to mean that we need an adapter for this because this is obviously a European power supply cable. So we're going to need to get an adapter for this. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'm going to come back and finish the video. But let's first unbox this, take a look at what we have here at least. We have an HDMI cable as well. Looks like regular to regular. So no minis or micros. And then we have our manual right here. So we'll thumb through this really quickly. Now, is this going to be entirely in French, or do we have English on the back side? Let's see. So this is entirely in French, which looks straightforward enough where I think I can figure it out. But let's unbox this a little bit further. Let's take a look at our controller and our console. All right, so I'm going to jump into the controller first. We have our charger right here, and then we also have the dongle for our wireless controller, so that's how we'll pair this up. And wow, this actually is pretty comfortable. Good response on the buttons, and hopefully this lives up to the expectation when we actually test it out. But really nice glide to these. D-pad feels maybe a little bit cheap, but it does seem responsive, so I don't want to be overly critical of it. Buttons are low profile, but they do seem very responsive. Start and select have that rubber sort of feel to them, but also responsive. Home button lights up nicely. Shoulder and trigger buttons, nice placement. Good action on here. There's no sweet spot where you have to hit in that one spot, otherwise it's not going to function correctly. This feels good everywhere, so I'm definitely digging this. And it's got this matte finish that's also kind of grippy, so really, actually, very comfortable. A little bit smaller scale than what we would get with like an Xbox or PlayStation controller, but I like it. I actually like smaller scale controllers. I don't like those big, cumbersome, bulky ones. So really hope this lives up to the expectations here because I love the way that this feels. So let's take a look at the console now. All right, so here is our console. And we have a little, let's see, micro SD card over here. Let me see if I can get into that because I'm dying to see what capacity this is, but let's keep looking around here first. Power supply port right there, audio jack right there, HDMI cable there, Ethernet right there, 2 USB ports, and that seems to be it. Nice graphic on top, though. I like the sharp colors there, and it says Time Machine, Voyage, I don't know the rest, but definitely looks pretty impressive here. And it says on the back, CPU 6905X3. 4 gigabytes of RAM, so that's likely going to, I would say, probably get us maybe even into some N64. Just depends on what this has to offer. It says 128 gigabytes. I assume that's gigabytes. So I would imagine that we have a 128 micro SD card here. Let me grab my knife and see if I can disengage that so we can actually eject the micro SD card. There we go. We got that popping right out. 128, so it is a 128 gigabyte micro SD card, and most importantly, it's SanDisk, which this is definitely a legit SanDisk micro SD card. So that's always good to see because using off-brand micro SD cards can sometimes be a challenge. So or have issues. So Definitely like the fact that we have that ready to go in here. So I'm going to get my US adapter here, and we're going to fire this up. All right, guys, so I got my European adapter here going, so I'm able to power this on. So we've just booted up into the time machine here, and on the all games list, next to where it says play now on the left-hand side in red, you can see the total game count because this is our master list. So inside here we have 10,000 games even. So let's jump into all games and just see what the layout looks like within. All right, so you can see that on the left-hand side, we have each of our titles and everything's laid out with box art, which is actually a unique way of actually setting this up. I've never seen that done before. Not in this format exactly, but it does read fairly well. Some of these are a little bit harder, but you'll notice on the right-hand side as you highlight each one, like this one, I can see it's 007. Don't know the full name though. It's a simple one though, 007 James Bond. Once it highlights, it gives us a little video preview, a description of the title on the right-hand side, the maker of the game, and of course across the top it gives us in bold the actual title name. So you can see how it looks for each of these, and again it morphs into a video preview, which I really like. Definitely a nice setup here, and it looks like not every single one does have that video preview, but it looks like the majority do. Now everything, let's see, it appears to be in alphabetical order here as far as I can tell. We'll scroll down a little bit lower just to verify, but yeah, it definitely seems to be in alphabetical order. We started with the numbers, then we went to letters. We're in A right now. And if we hold this down, we should eventually end up in B. Of course, with 10,000 games, we'd have to hold it for quite a while. We're getting there though. So pretty consistent the way that they put this together throughout. Now, I personally probably wouldn't use the masters list too much. I like to go into each individual collection, but yeah, it's definitely in alphabetical order. You can see we're in the B's now. And actually, if you hit select, you can get this options menu to pop up. And say we wanted to look for titles that started with S, we just go over here to the jump to, go to S, and then we make our selection. So once we're in here, we can obviously locate titles that we're looking for much easier. So I'm going to back out of this right now, and we're going to go in collection by collection now. They do have favorites in here. So typically this is going to be left blank. They have 4 games in here that they already added, but you can remove those. You can add all your favorite titles into this for easy access. Let's see what they favorited here, just so you can see what it would look like. They actually have some pretty cool titles. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We've got Turtles in Time over here, and the Simpsons arcade game. All 3 of those are awesome. This one over here, not a bad game actually, but I wouldn't put it as my favorites, but these would actually be in mine. So not mad at the pre-selected favorites here by any means. So we have last played here, so you can find all of the last 50 games that you've played on here. We have Nintendo DS kicking everything off, so it doesn't look like we start in alphabetical order, which is okay, but 34 Nintendo DS games. Let's see what games are in here. And I do like the consistency here of the box art throughout. So we've got some classic Nintendo DS games, a lot of Dragon Ball Z going on here. We've got classic favorites here, Kirby, Zelda, Kingdom Hearts, Star Wars 3, the Lego game. We've got Mario and Luigi Partners in Time. We've got Mario Kart DS, Mario Party DS. Lots of good stuff here. I actually really like this. Need for Speed Underground 2. Some Pokemon games here. Actually, looks like just about all the Pokemon games. Super Mario DS, Spider-Man. Really good selection here for NDS. And I'm not a big NDS guy myself, but lots of great titles here. So we'll back out. And next one is Final Burn Neo. So you're going to find a lot of great arcade games in here. Love the layout in here as well. So we don't have box art here, but we have the logos on the right-hand side. Really easy to read. I like how the video previews populate into the arcade cabinet on the left-hand side. We even have the logo up on the marquee. Just really nicely put together here. I definitely like how well polished this is. One of my favorites here, Alien vs. Predator. And how many games did we have in this collection? Let me just scroll through these a little bit here. But I definitely do want to jump out and check on the game count here. Doesn't look like a massive amount, but we've got the Marvel vs. Capcom. You can't go wrong with that. Marvel Superheroes versus Street Fighter. Superheroes. Great titles in here. All right, let's back out of this collection. So how many of those titles? 101 games in Final Burn Neo. Now here's MAME. MAME's going to have a massive amount, I would imagine. Wow, 1,803. As we jump in here, you can see it's laid out just like the previous collection. We actually have the box art in the bottom left corner there, but we still have the logos on the right-hand side. Video preview. Love this game too. The hockey version of NBA Jam, basically. Lots of great stuff in here. And I'm not noticing any duplicates anywhere, which is very nice. Oftentimes we will find a lot of duplicates. We don't have that going on here at all. So let's back out. And I can't say that there's no duplicates anywhere in here yet, but doesn't seem like there's an obvious amount of them, which is definitely good. So Atari 2600, 465 games. We'll take a little dip in here. Definitely like the consistency once again with this collection and how it's laid out, the box art. We'll back out. I won't spend a ton of time in each collection, but Atari 5200, 98 games in here, same layout, and we do get the video previews and all that as well. We'll back out. Atari Lynx with how many games? 82 games over here. All right, some Batman Returns over here. All right, moving on, we've got Wonder Swan. Wonder Swan is going to have 112 games. And next is going to be Wonder Swan Color. See how this is laid out. And how many Wonder Swan Color games? We have 97 over here. Here we have Capcom Play System. And it's laid out just like MAME was. And it looks like they have actually combined all of the Capcom games into one collection, which is nice. I think that saves us the time of going through multiple collections. So back out of this one. So how many games were in here again? 81. Yeah, that would be all Capcom System 1, 2, and 3 all together. ColecoVision over here with 140, 140 even games. Good. I thought I was going to say 141. All right. Looks pretty good. Classic Donkey Kong over here. Always have fun playing that classic game. We'll back out. We have Amiga CD32. 38 titles here. We've got a couple ROMs here that don't have scraped data, but that's the only ones I've seen so far. All right, we'll back out. Now, I love the back graphics of this theme here. They're really sharp too. Didn't comment on that yet, but I've been admiring those as we go collection by collection, and I'll continue to do so. We've got Scum VM here. Love this collection. I actually love that game that's down there in the bottom left corner. I believe that's Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. So we've got 18 Scum VM games, and if we dive in here, we have the box art, which is really cool, and there's the game I was just talking about. Recently, I actually picked up the physical copy of this. We've got Leisure Suit Larry down here as well. What else do we have? I love this. Monkey Island. Got a bunch of those. What else do we have? Nice Broken Swords in here. We've got some Maniac Mansion going on here. Loom. Very nice. This could be a bigger collection if they really wanted to, in all honesty. Goblins is good too. But you know, there's definitely more titles that you could add to this that are really great ones. Sam and Max, there's another Indiana Jones game, The Fate of Atlantis, that's great. What else? Quite a few games, actually, that you could add to this collection, but still a great start. Odyssey 2 here with 99 games. Take a peek in here. And I've said this already, but I'll say it again. I really love the consistency of the majority of these collections having the box art. The only ones that didn't were the classic arcade collections. FB Neo, MAME, etc. Capcom was a little different, but all of these are laid out exactly the same way. And, you know, box art wouldn't really make sense for the arcade ones anyways, so definitely not mad at it for having the difference there. So we have MSX1 here, tons of games in here, 330. So we will go down to Vectrex. Vectrex here with the Star Wars background, 37 games. Jump in here. Sweet. Continuing on, we have TurboGrafx 16 with 291 games. All right, backing up. TurboGrafx CD. And in here we had, how many games for this? Just 12. Here we have PC Engine. Game & Watch. And how many Game & Watch games? 51 of these. So I really like the way this is laid out too. We kept the box art vibe here. I was wondering how this one was going to populate in. So they have the box for the entire little mini console there, which is pretty neat. I never even knew what these were actually, what their boxes look like. So that's pretty cool. We'll back out. We have NES over here, and we have 901 NES games, and that back graphics there in the theme looks phenomenal. Love that. We'll jump in here, see what it's looking like. Very nice. Let me just go the opposite way. Oh, we can't loop around backwards there. We got to go straight down. Okay. Sweet. All right, we'll go down to Game Boy now. And in original Game Boy, we have 608 games. And I'm definitely feeling like there's no duplicates here from what I've seen so far anyways. I mean, this is the true count for this collection, and we will have some, double features here, 2-in-1 games. But that's not a blatant duplicate in my opinion. So some great Batman titles here. We'll back out. We should have Super Nintendo next. Super Nintendo is going to give us 984. Looks like we've got Luna Vachon and Lex Luger there in the corner. So let's see what we've got. All right, so there's fan games in here too, which is basically hacks. And they even have box art, which is really cool. All right, it doesn't look like, not everything has it, but the majority do. So we'll back out of this. We have Satellaview as well. And we have another, let's see. It doesn't give us a count for that, for those extra little collections there, but still, we've got a lot of great stuff here. All right, we'll back out. We have Virtual Boy here now. Virtual Boy is going to give us 25 games. And next collection is N64. How many N64 games? 100 games down here. That's pretty impressive. Now, this is going to be one of the most popular collections here, so I got to see what this is offering. We've got GoldenEye 007 right off the bat up at the top. Now, this is not one that is in alphabetical order. Well, actually, that's not true. They're putting in alphabetical order based off of 007. So they're taking the 0 as the first, even though it's technically GoldenEye 007. So it should be in G, but that's okay. After that, it is, or it appears to be at least, in alphabetical order. So I stand corrected. All right, so we've got some classic titles here from what I can see. Got Cruisin' Exotica over here. That's the only cruising game it looks like. Diddy Kong Racing's over here. Donkey Kong 64, Doom 64. Definitely some great titles. Got the Zelda games over here. We've got Mario Kart 64. So you can see how it does get a little bit out of whack here in terms of alphabetical order. Well, I guess this is, they're taking Legend as the first letter, even though it's technically T for the Legend, but it's not too far off. I think you would be able to find what you're looking for, so I won't pick on it too much. We got Mario Party. Yeah, we got the Mario Party games here. Although this one says Mario Party, but the box art there shows, oh no, it's correct. I was looking at the block there in his hand as Mario Party 3, but nope, that's correct. All right, so we've got all the Mortal Kombats here, Paper Mario's here, Pokemon Stadium, Pokemon Snap, Perfect Dark, all classic titles. So only thing I'm missing so far is the cruising games, it seems. Super Mario 64, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2's in here. I'm gonna have any, oh, that's unfortunate. So we don't have WWF No Mercy, we don't have WCW NWO Revenge, which are titles that I absolutely love. So I wish those were on here. But other than that, I mean, this is pretty solid. I'd love to see Cruisin' USA, Cruisin' World. But, you know, if you have to bring down the total number to fit on here, I totally get it. So still, 100 games for N64 is pretty impressive. We have Game Boy Color over here. Game Boy Color has 574 games. Definitely a nice layout. We'll back out. We have Game Boy Advance. And I didn't get the game count, but we'll jump back for that. Very good. All right, how many games for Game Boy Advance? 659 games. That's pretty impressive as well. We have Panasonic 3. And next, okay, another great collection here. How many games over here do we have? And the box art here is a little bit different throughout. Some of them are laid out like this, the majority like this. But I'm okay with that. Not a massive collection by any means. How many games in here? 21 games. Open Bore, Open Beats of Rage. Love this collection. 14 titles here. Which ones do we have? Now, I never liked the way they populated in like this. Just a little bit harder to see, but at least it's consistent. Definitely some good games in here. Infinity War is a great one. You can see we got the video previews, even though this is technically a custom collection. Batman Gotham Knight is a great one too. I've played through that one several times. Battletoads is cool. Vampire Hunters, another great one. So definitely check out this collection if you're not familiar with it. Let's see. We've got a Thomas Wave. A Thomas Wave over here. 10 games. Let's see what we've got in here. Got the box art. Sega SG-1000. We've got 80 games. Sega Master System, 292 games. We'll take a look in Master System here. Oh, we have Japanese collection over here too. And that looks like it's a pretty stacked collection. Oh no, it's 3 rows of games. Still pretty good though. I don't think I've actually played this game. Not this version anyways. That looks pretty cool. I'll have to check that out. All right, we'll back out. We have Sega Game Gear up here. 274 games. Take a peek inside. Looks good. And we've got Sega Genesis here. And we've got hacks as well. Pretty sweet. So how many games in total for this collection? And it's not going to be 100% accurate. 841, but that's not including the hacks. So you get even more than what's advertised here, which is pretty nice. Genesis 32X, 36 games inside here. Really sharp box art on here as well. Gotta love the WrestleMania arcade game. We'll back out. Sega CD. We have 36 games in Sega CD. Some Monkey Island, some Mortal Kombat. Sonic's in here. Rage in the Cage. Takes me back right there. Had my boy Macho Man in that one. All right, so we've got Sega Saturn next. Nice. Sega Saturn can be a challenge to get right, especially on a smaller console like this. 12 games in here. What do we have? All right, so Batman Forever, the arcade game is pretty decent. Crime Wave I like. A lot of these, though, aren't games that I'm super familiar with. Of course, Mortal Kombat 2 is good. The story of Thor 2 is good. But yeah, I'm not familiar with all of these, but decent collection. Love to see more, but 12 still a good start. Dreamcast. How many Dreamcast games? 20. All right, let's see what we have for Dreamcast. This is one of my favorite collections for retro gaming. So we've got Crazy Taxi 1 and 2. We've got Dead or Alive 2 in here. Giga Wings in here. Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver. Got Marvel vs. Capcom 1 and 2. Sweet. Power Stone 1 and 2. Sonic Adventure, Sonic Adventure 2. Soul Calibur. Is that Virtua Fighter? Nice. Got some Virtua Striker over here. Virtua Tennis 1 and 2. Wow, this is a great selection of Dreamcast games. I love the majority of these titles, so we'll definitely dive in here soon. All right, so Sega Naomi. What do we have in here in terms of games? 29 titles. Let's see what we have. I love these as well. Very similar to that of Dreamcast, of course. This is a great wrestling game. Giant Graham 2. And I hope we have Royal Rumble on here. I don't see it so far. There we go. There we are. Sweet. This is one of my favorite games for this collection. One of my favorite wrestling games in general. I think it's definitely overrated. Excuse me. I think it's underrated. Not enough people talk about this game, but it is a great one. And graphically, it looked phenomenal for back then as well. Because this would have been like 98, I think. 98, 99. So definitely really great graphics for what they were putting out back then, and the movement looks really good too, really natural. It doesn't look, pixelated and awkward like some of the N64 games where the guys were really boxy and their movement was kind of squared off. This definitely looks great. So, all right, we're going to back out of this collection. Neo Geo CD over here with 7 games. All right, let's see what 7 games we have. I'm not familiar with all of these games, but okay, Cross Swords 2, yeah, but I don't think I know any of these other ones here. All right, Neo Geo System. Now, what do we have? 152 games inside here. This is where we're going to find our Metal Slug games and our classic Neo Geo titles. Nice. All right, what's next? Neo Geo Pocket. 8 games in here. And we have Neo Geo Pocket Color. Inside here, we're going to have 44 games. Next one is the original PlayStation. So PS1, 100 games in here. That's pretty good. And absolutely love having the box art here, especially this collection that I probably out of all of these had the most physical games for this and Dreamcast. So it's really cool to see the box art, looking like it would have looked at, where was I getting games from back then? Like Walmart, Comp USA, stuff like that. We've got a lot of Tomb Raider. We've got Tekken 3, which is probably my all-time favorite game for PS1. So we'll back out of this one. We've got PSP in here. Now PSP has 30 titles. Let's see which ones they are. Hopefully it's not all minis. So we do have some minis in here, but we also have regular, full PSP games as well. Soul Calibur is a great one. Lots of good stuff here. Sonic Rivals as well. And do we have video previews for these? We have them for some. It doesn't look like we have it for Sonic Rivals. Yeah, we've got it for the majority of them anyways. Not every single game. All right, and now we have our custom collection. So we have the Art of Fighting. So we can jump in here and we can see all the games that are included in here. And it's games that are in a wide range of collections. So it's all of your Art of Fighting games. All right, we'll back out of this. And I'm not going to go into each one, but we've got Batman here. So all your Batman games from all the games included here. So this will have multiple Batman titles from different collections. So you can see how they populate in. They look really good here. Really great graphic there too. I gotta add that to my regular setup. That looks great. So we've got Castlevania, we've got Crash Bandicoot, we've got Donkey Kong. Let's see what Donkey Kong's graphic is. Really sharp there. We've got Double Dragon, Dragon Ball Z, Fatal Fury, Final Fantasy, Final Fight, Grand Theft Auto here. What do we have for Grand Theft Auto though? How many titles? All right, pretty good, pretty good. Harry Potter. We've got Kirby over here. Just the graphics are really cool to just kind of go through and enjoy taking them in. We've got Mortal Kombat, Pokemon, Samurai Showdown, Sonic the Hedgehog, Street Fighter, Tomb Raider. We've got Turtles here, Legends of Zelda, and then we have 2-player games and 4-player games, which is fun if you have that many players and you want to look for games that are just for, you know, that you can play with that many people. That's pretty cool too. So that is the entire setup here, totaling 10,000 games in total. So we're going to jump in here. We'll test out a few games from a couple different collections and see what the experience is like on here. And I'll be using the controllers that come with this, and you know, hopefully we don't have any issues, because so far this looks like a great setup.
Love 15. All. 15-30. 30 all. Half, 2 serves. 15 love. 30 love. 40 love. Game on. First game. One. Fight.
'All right, guys, we just combed through and tested out the Time Machine Plug and Play Retro Video Game Console. And let me say this absolutely blew me away with what is possible on this little plug and play console. So once I unboxed this, first impression was I thought that the design on this was really sharp, really cool, very catchy. I liked it. But I was initially concerned at the fact that this is super compact and very lightweight. Usually, in my experience, and having reviewed several very similar setups in the past, usually that means that you're going to have some issues where it's not powerful enough to properly emulate the high-end stuff on here. So I wasted no time when I dove in here and I tested out a bunch of games in game collections. So when I started testing out collections in here and games, I went right for the challenging stuff. I went for N64, Dreamcast, PSP, all of which ran perfectly. And that really surprised me, but pleasantly surprised me. So let's first talk about the layout of the actual device here before I talk more in depth about the performance. Because there are a few things that are a little bit concerning that you do have to overcome to get that perfect experience. And I'll talk about that momentarily, but once we unboxed this, we saw the layout here. And I said it was very sharp looking, very cool looking, but let's talk about the ports on here. It has everything that you need. We have 2 USB ports, one is USB 3, we have an Ethernet port on here, we have an HDMI port so you can bring this over to your monitor or TV. We have an audio jack so you can plug in headphones, you can plug in external speakers in there. We have our power supply connection, so we can obviously power this. And then we have our micro SD card slot. We saw the micro SD card. We have a name brand micro SD card, which is very important. The generic ones out there are inexpensive, but with the fact that they're inexpensive comes a higher probability that it's going to corrupt over time, or maybe not even over time. So the fact that we have a branded and well-branded micro SD card is really huge here. So everything that is offered here is great. In a perfect world, I'd love to have 4 USB ports, not just 2, but that's a want, not a need. We need to, we have to. So all good there. Now, once we booted this up, I want to talk about the layout here because I've reviewed lots of plug-and-play game drives and plug-and-play consoles, and I would say that 95% of the time, it's a sloppy mess, a disaster in most cases. We usually see that plug-and-play drives or consoles really hype up a padded number of games here. I've seen some that say 100,000 games. Oftentimes it's duplicates or just bonus files and stuff like that that don't actually provide us with, that true number of titles. Here, they advertise 10,000 games. They have 10,000 games. They are not littered with duplicates here. In fact, I didn't see any duplicates. Not saying there's not a couple duplicates floating in, some of these collections, but I combed through here pretty extensively. I did not find them to be littered with duplicates. So that is great right off the bat. I hate when they pad numbers. And I'm not talking about them specifically, but when creators of game drives that are plug and play or consoles, have these heightened numbers that are just false advertising, it drives me nuts. We don't have that here. We also have a setup that is very easy to navigate, and every collection goes together well. You have very much the same layout from collection to collection. You have box art, you have the video previews or the screenshot that morphs into the video previews. You have a description of each title. You have the title laid out in fine print or even logos in some cases. The only time it differs is when you dive into arcade style collections like MAME, like FB Neo, because with those collections, obviously you wouldn't have box art. So, you could have some box art. It was usually like the cover of the manual and stuff like that. So for those, they made it an arcade sort of theme in there, and I love the way that they did that. So we have 2 slight differences there, depending on the type of collection, but they still go together very well. It's also very easy to navigate. Everything's in alphabetical order, collection by collection, or even in the All Games master list. All of it's alphabetical order, so you can navigate to where you want to start exploring titles. You can also do the jump to option there, which I showed you guys in the tour video, where if you're looking for, a title that starts with W, you just jump over to W, you go ahead and hit your button to launch over to that, and you can immediately start combing through the W titles or the S titles or whatever letter you're looking for. So very easy to navigate. I love the video previews as well, which is a nice touch. It's nice to be able to actually get a little preview of what you're going to dive into, especially if you're going down memory lane here, or you're using this like a time machine as it's intended to. So really love that. I think that whoever put this together really cared about what this was going to be like for the user in the end. You can tell by the amount of time that likely went into creating this product. So now let's talk about a couple of the hurdles you have to overcome here. When I went to jump into this, usually my TV will pick up on the fact that I'm jumping into a gaming device, and it will automatically move my settings over, my mode over on my TV to game mode. That's not the case here. It doesn't recognize this as a game console. So you have to manually do that. So I do want to make mention of that, because if you don't, not everybody will experience issues, but you could experience some issues, trying to game on something that, you're not using in game mode on your TV. So manually, change that setting on your TV. If you had like a PS5 or an Xbox or a gaming PC, my TV anyways would pick up on that and automatically make that change. But because it doesn't do that with this device, and I'm not saying it won't for everybody, but for me it didn't. So I do want to make mention of it. You do have to just manually make that change. Now, another thing here that isn't great, but is manageable are these right here. We have two gamepad controllers here, and I talked about these when we unboxed it. They look great. They're very responsive. I love the layout and design of these. I even love the way that they feel. They're on point. The buttons are great. The D-pad's great. The analog sticks are great. Everything's comfortable. Unfortunately, they're laggy. There's a significant lag using these, to the point where when I first jumped into, I think the first 2 or 3, and I marked them here in the little previews of the gameplay demos rather, I marked the ones that I was using this for, and then I marked the ones that I used my regular PC gamepad controller for, and that made a massive difference. So I was initially concerned because it felt very slow. It felt very laggy. I would go and move my analog stick, and there would be, you know, a slight delay, but a noticeable delay before like the cart in Mario actually moved. And then I brought over this right here. This is my go-to PC controller. This is from Mechanic. Recently got this, and I absolutely love it. So I brought this into the mix. This connects the exact same way through a USB dongle. I plugged it directly into the Time Machine right here, and it worked beautifully. The nice thing about it too is I plugged it in while in a main menu, on, you know, booted up into this, and it immediately picked up that I had connected a new controller into the setup, and it gave me a prompt on screen, do you want to map this controller? So I hit yes. I went through the mapping process, took about probably 15 seconds at the most, and immediately it could start jumping into all these games. So I did the majority of the gameplay demos with this controller. So I do have to say, when you get your Time Machine, if you decide that this is right for you, don't use these controllers. And it sucks to say because they look great, they feel great, but there's a significant lag on them. So you will not have a good experience if you're using them with these. Go ahead and get yourself a PC controller, and this one's great right here, but you don't have to get this one. There's a lot of great ones out there. They connect over the same exact way. Make sure it's a USB dongle connection, so it uses that 2.4G wireless connection, and you will have a phenomenal experience as long as your controllers are high enough quality. And we jumped into a bunch of games here. And again, I mentioned the ones, and I put on screen in the corner when I was using the provided controllers versus when I was using the ones that I brought into the mix here. And you can see the significant difference there. You saw that Virtua Tennis, I was not doing well in that game at all with the provided controllers. It was just really laggy. I had to kind of guess on the timing, and it resulted in me almost losing, you know, both sides of that match. You saw what the gameplay experience was like for me using the controller that I brought into the mix, and I had a great experience there. I didn't lose any bit of that matchup. So same thing with Mario Kart 64. The first demo in this video here, I used the provided controllers. The second one, which was way smoother, was when I brought in my own. So definitely bring in your own controllers into this, and you will get the maximum performance out of it. So Dreamcast, perfect. PSP, perfect. N64, perfect. Sega Saturn, which is really tough to emulate as well, usually requires a whole lot from your console or your PC, and that ran extremely well too. So games that were provided here, Dreamcast was on point. All my favorite games for the most part for Dreamcast, or not all of them, but the majority of them were provided there. N64, great assortment of games. Sega Saturn I wasn't crazy about, in all honesty, but that's personal preference. I just wasn't a massive fan of everything that was offered there. Mortal Kombat 2, great game. Other than that though, not my favorite titles for Sega Saturn. It is what it is there. Everything else, very good, because they're pretty much all inclusive. Your Sega Master System, your NES, your Super Nintendo, your MAME, your FB Neo, all that stuff is pretty much complete. You have just about everything that is offered there. We even have hacks in there, so really just don't have enough nice things to say about the games that are provided in this plug-and-play setup. The only criticism, of course, is get your own controllers, and you will have the most phenomenal experience with this. This is really inexpensive. I don't want to quote the price here. I'll provide you guys with a link up here at the top of your screen, as well as in the description of this video, but it's very affordable. I don't want to quote the price though, just because it's obviously not in US dollars. So prices are going to fluctuate quite a bit on this, even though, I mean, prices in general seem to be fluctuating a lot with anything gaming related these days, but certainly when you have a currency difference there, they're always going to be kind of going up and down. So definitely click those links, and you will see the links in the description of this video as well. So drop down there if you missed the one up at the top of your screen, click the link, see what this has to offer. But I definitely love it. Just get rid of those wireless controllers. That's going to do it for today, though. Let me know what you guys think of this video and what this console has offered in the description of this video. That's going to do it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next video.